right, ladies, let's go ahead and we are going to get rolling. So today, I think I taught this class maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and I hope it's not too soon or a repeat for anybody. But I have been answering this question a lot lately, which tells me that there's a lot of issues out there and a lot of uncertainty around it. So it's time to talk about it again. And that is, how do you respond when a client asks you about distressed properties, foreclosures, short sales, whatever the case may be, either one? The question is, how do you respond to them? What questions do you ask, and how do you direct those energies in the appropriate direction? Okay. So, having said that, let's go straight into the slide deck. And if I can get my slides to start working. All right, foreclosures and short sales. How to respond when a client asks about these. So, let's talk about some definitions first. I don't think we probably need to cover this. We are all human beings on the planet, but just in case, a foreclosure is the action of the mortgage entity repossessing that property and taking it back over for failure to make their mortgage payments. Pretty
Right.
obvious. And the foreclosure home is the actual property itself that is involved in this bank liquidating of this. Okay.
Jay, we don't see
Eight.
your slides if you're showing them.
Sorry about that, ladies.
No problem.
Thank you for keeping me on track there, Miss Letitia. Now, are you looking at my slide deck? Thank you. All right. So, foreclosure homes, and I was just about to talk about REO. REO is real estate owned. In other words, the bank. So, REO is the term for after a home has been essentially repossessed or foreclosed upon. It is owned by the bank and has not yet been resold. So it's REO. Does anybody know? I don't know if y'all know this, but do y'all know the origins of Century 21 as a company? We started as an REO company. Mike's original, his record, his 10,000 plus homes, most of it is REO because that was the business he was in. And that's how we got to the stage that we are now. If you look at our designation for our brokerage, it's SREO because our parent company is Southern REO, and that was the business that we were in before we got at the Century 21 franchise. Okay. So REO, we're going to talk about in great lengths because essentially REO is where you can help your clients, but not necessarily with foreclosures. All right. So let's keep going. All right. Um, so when you're talking about foreclosures, we have to think, what environment are we currently operating in? We are now, what, a year and a half, 2 years post pandemic. Y'all know that there were national and federal moratoriums on foreclosures, upon evictions, and the economy and its current state since this all took place, the pandemic took place, has been one where it has not been a high foreclosure environment. So there's been eviction moratoriums. Loan modifications became very, very prevalent during these financial hard times with people and high interest rates. People can't sell, they can't buy. So, consequently, the result is right now there is a very low foreclosure inventory status in all of America, not just Metro Atlanta. All right. Um, you know what? I did not check these numbers. The last time I checked these was if you looked at all statuses in FMLS that are in foreclosure, there was only 406 homes in the entire Metro Atlanta market.
Jay, I,
And
I checked
REO,
last week and I only saw 20.
is that right? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. REO is just under 1,400, and it's probably less than that. Short sales, which we're going to talk about more towards the end of this presentation, you're only looking at 240 on the last time I checked. And realistically, as Letitia said, it's probably lower than that even right now. So when somebody says, "Hey, I'm interested in foreclosures," is there much for them? Is there much for you to help them with? Realistically, no. All right. So let's talk about the foreclosure process before we launch a little bit further into this. So the way that this process takes place is first steps is your client or a seller or a owner misses their payments. They're going to receive some notifications. Those notifications are going to put them on forewarning. Remember, Georgia is a non-judicial foreclosure state, so they don't have to take them to court. All they'd have to do is post some notifications, put it in a newspaper, and they are free to go to the foreclosure auction without taking them to court first. Okay, so then the foreclosure auction takes place. That is a cash only auction, and that's going to be key here in just a second. After the home is foreclosed upon, if the owner is still there, then the eviction process takes place. The bank or repossessing or the foreclosing entity is going to take possession of the home, and then they're going to put into REO processing. All right. And what we mean by REO processing is they're going to stabilize the home. In most cases, they're going to cut off utilities. They might board up doors and windows if it's deeply distressed. And then they're going to take their photographs and do any repairs that are necessary. And eventually, they're going to put it back on the market. And the REO company will then begin the process to liquidate it. So that is an asset that they need to move, that they need to get rid of. So what are they going to do? They're going to contact a company like what we used to be, and to a certain extent still are. There's a branch of our brokerage that still does this. They're going to relist the house as an REO home on the MLS. And there's also a possibility that it could be relisted on some auction sites, and we'll talk about some of those here towards the end of the presentation also. Okay, any questions on the foreclosure process so far? Okay. The county foreclosure auctions. All right. So what you often will hear people talk about is on the courthouse steps. I'm going to go buy a house on the courthouse steps. And that is literally what they're talking about. It's usually on the first Tuesday of each month. And they literally will have an auction and at the courthouse, either inside the courthouse or outside, whatever the case may be, on the steps. The key to this is foreclosure auctions are cash only. There is no such thing as buying a foreclosure home when you have a mortgage. So typically what you have are at the actual foreclosure auctions, it's typically going to be only people that are in a cash position or investors that are actually going to buy homes at those auctions. So when a client asks you, how can you help me with foreclosure auctions? How do you respond to that? Can you help them with a true foreclosure? So the first questions that you ask them is, will you be paying cash or using a mortgage? Usually that's the immediate qualifier. And I don't know how long y'all been in this business, but your cash buyers are fewer and further between than your mortgage buyers. All right. So then you can also ask the questions, why are you interested in foreclosure? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is they're bargain hunting. Somebody programmed them at some point to say, hey, if you want a good deal, try to find a foreclosure home. You can also ask them questions like, do you know how the foreclosure and REO process works? That's a great question to kind of bring them into the fold and help them to better understand what their understanding is so that you can then educate them on the steps that we just talked about. Okay, so then you are going to have to explain the process. Yeah, I can definitely help you. I can help you with REO homes, which is the stage of the process after the actual foreclosure. If they can go down to the foreclosure to the courthouse steps and buy a home with cash on the courthouse steps, they really don't need your help. They can do that all on their own. And essentially your job would be to provide protections to them. Well, when they're buying a home on the auction and foreclosure, there's a lot of risk associated with that. And you don't really have a play or a position in that to help them manage that risk. Okay. So the next thing is once you can help them with an REO, you're going to set them up with an MLS or a Real Scout search using the listing conditions filter, and you can use what we had already talked about earlier in foreclosure, REO, or whatever the case may be.
Jay,
Also, yeah.
when I was looking for foreclosed project or REOs, when I was using Real Scout, I didn't see no option for that.
For Real Scout,
When I was using Real Scout trying to search for them,
uh-huh.
I didn't see an option for that on Real
There
Scout.
is, it may not be one of the default options that shows up on this page immediately. Down towards the bottom, there's a place where you can add additional fields. And if the field is in MLS, it's going to be in Real Scout also. It just may not be the ones that's on the front screen.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I don't know if this is a correct one, but I've used RPR to find some.
You can,
Yeah,
RPR
is
let's mute. RPR is another source that you can use. It's essentially, it's a system that rides on top of the FMLS, but we can do the same thing in Real Scout also. I'm happy to show you all. Okay. Do I need to do you want me to show you that now? I can if you want me to. Hang on. Let's do this. Hang on, folks. Real Scout, if you're in searching for Real Scout, so you're here, listing conditions, lister status changed, locations, schools, features, amenities, dates, add additional options, add or remove, listing conditions. Special listing conditions. That's it. Special listing conditions. Here you can see auction, HUD owned, in foreclosure, none, real estate owned, and short sales. Okay, everybody with me? This is how you can set up your searches. Okay. Where were we explaining the process? And some additional sites that you might want to get involved in, Hubzu, foreclosure.com, and auctions.com are three sites that you may find yourself getting involved in if you are looking at a foreclosure home, helping with a foreclosure home, or helping somebody to buy a foreclosure home. I have personally, there's actually ways, I think I have helped a client with Hubzu before and actually had a client purchase a home using me as their agent. And I was the one submitting their offers to the Hubzu website through their auction site. And they pay a premium above and beyond what is in the MLS when they buy it on the auction. Worked out well. So if you're in your actual MLS, you can see there's the field to look for special listing conditions in FMLS. And I just showed you how to do the exact same thing in Real Scout. Some of the auction sites, here's a great example. This is an online auction, and here is Bid Auction Max. So this is something that you may see in the MLS, and this is a very clear indicator that this is an REO type property. These are the kind of things that you can help your clients with. Okay, so that's probably, I'm probably beating a dead horse at this point. You all want to, any questions on foreclosures before we shift gears to talk about short sales? Okay, let's go, short sales.
So those that show up at the courthouse, how are we facilitating that, or are we doing anything at all there?
To be honest with you, you don't, in my opinion, you don't have a role there. That's if you want to be there for moral support, Yeah, but there's no way for you to make any money. There's no commission involved when they're bidding on an auction. There's no agent involvement there. It's just eh, have fun. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
So Jay, even if you have clients that are interested in foreclosures and you let them know that it's a cash only situation, they can go to the courthouse once a month on a Tuesday. Is there a way for them to know? Obviously, there's a list that comes out of what properties are going to be sold on that particular date. And is there a way for them to actually look at those properties before they bid on them?
There is, but it's going to be different for every single municipality. Each community is going to have, or each county is going to have their own process. So, to do a broad brush statement of this is how you go about doing it, it's going to be different whether it's Fulton, whether it's Cherokee, whether it's Cobb. So, yeah, you might have to do a little bit of research. I know of agents that will, maybe help screen the homes. Maybe your role could be as simple as making a recommendation of, hey, give me the three homes that you're considering buying. I'm happy to go take a look at all three of them and give you my advice on which might be the least risky or whatever the case may be. But in that case, you probably don't have a buyer's brokerage agreement. There's no commission being paid by a seller at an auction site. So other than being a service provider to your client, I don't know that there's a whole lot that you can do.
But wouldn't you, I mean, if I'm working with, say, with an investor from another state and they're asking me to look into this, I would have them sign a buyer's agreement, right?
Sure. Right. But you're also at the same time when you're sitting there with them at the auction, the question is who's paying that? Is the seller paying that? Well, the auction site,
Mhm.
generally speaking, is not going to pay you a commission. The county
Right.
courthouse is not going to pay a commission. So as long as your client would understand that whatever commission you have on your buyer's brokerage agreement is going to be above and beyond what they're bidding on the auction, yeah, you could do it.
Okay.
Realistically, I don't think many investors are going to ask you to do that, but it's possible.
Well, if they're in another state and they want to purchase in the state of Georgia, then they'd have to compensate the agent. An
Hmm.
agent's not going to work for free.
True, true. I would steer them towards an REO home a little bit easier than there's just the ability to manage those risks with an REO home is going to be a lot less than an actual foreclosure auction site.
Yeah, and most
Okay.
investors don't want to sign a broker agreement. They want you to serve them as a client because they're using other
Yep.
people too. So they can't just say, I'm only going to use you because it's not true.
Yeah, most of them are going to want a non-exclusive agreement also. Okay, so before we get to crunch for time, let's talk about short sales. So the short sale is a scenario that is basically could potentially take place before a foreclosure, and that is basically when the owner of the home owes more for the paper, more on the mortgage than the home happens to be worth. So what scenarios have you experienced that this might be the case? What all have you guys experienced?
Crash 2008.
Yeah, that I was in doing real estate around that time, or actually technically wasn't, but yeah, the market crashed. The neighborhood, something significant happened in the neighborhood. Maybe when they bought the house, it was worth 300, and 6 months after that, they announced that the waste dump station behind is expanding and it's going to come within 200 yards of your back porch. That could decrease the value significantly. Here's the other one that I find a lot. I bought the home 2 years ago and I've refinanced it three times since then and pulled equity out each time. I now owe more on it than what I could sell it for. And those are the scenarios you can most typically find um, with um, with short sales. Okay, so on the short sale, um, basically what it is the owner is identifying and saying, hey, I know that I owe more or I know that I owe more than what the house is worth, but I've got to have a way to get out of this. Maybe they're being relocated, whatever the case may be, but they are seeking approval from the lender to sell the home for less than what it is owed. Okay. So in other words, it's worth I owe 350 on it, but it's only worth 300. I am literally going to the bank and saying, can I sell it for 300 and take a hit on the rest? Okay. When homes are going into short sale, they're going to be put on the MLS usually as an approved short sale. An approved short sale means the lender's application for the short sale has already been submitted and it has been approved by that lender. The only requirement remaining to happen is to actually find the buyer and get the contract on the home. If it is not approved, then it is typically referred to as a potential short sale, which is we're going to go ahead and put it on the MLS. We're going to get an offer and we're going to submit it to the bank and cross our fingers and hope and pray that they approve. Okay, the approval process may take some time and it will require patience. Setting the expectation with your clients that a potential short sale or not an approved short sale could take weeks. And I hate to say this, folks, when I've done a couple of short sales in my career. I think the last one I did was probably 2015 or 2016. And that short sale took like 9 months to get approved. So that was a different time frame, different rules and setups and processes that were taking place, but it can take a long time. All right. So the message here is plan your contract timelines, closing dates, contingencies. You're not going to buy a short sale home and have a closing date that's 30 days out. You're probably going to need closer to 60 or even more. Okay. And it's important to set the expectations with the buyer. Could you potentially get a great deal on a short sale home? Yeah, you sure could. You could, but that's going to come at the cost of some convenience, some time frame, and a lot of uncertainty. Okay. And the most important thing I can tell you on either of these, whether it's a foreclosure or a short sale, is you got to work very closely with the lender, find out who the rep is at the bank or the REO entity, and make sure you are in concert with those people, in bed with them, if you will. All right. And so some examples pulled from the MLS. This goes way back. So here you see this is a pre-approved short sale. No foreclosure date has been set. Short sales pre-approved by PennyMac. So this is one where when you see stuff like this is one where I would feel like I'm comfortable going forward with something along these lines because it is pre-approved. And then the opposite is right here, potential short sale, how the house is sold as is. In other words, this one has not been submitted to the bank. It's going to take some time. When you do for homes that you might be putting an offer on that are short sales, there's a little exhibit in here called the short sale contingency exhibit, which outlines some of the short sale processes. I am not going to insult everybody's intelligence by reading some of these, but I would strongly encourage you to go pull the GAR 610, take a look at this form, make sure you're familiar with it if you're looking at any short sale type properties or going to put an offer in on the short sale. So again, client expectations with either foreclosure or short sales. Patience is going to be the key. There's going to be time delays. There's going to be a lot of compromises, and some additional frustration is going to be likely. So things like some of those frustrations can take the forms of any REO and short sale homes. Typically, you're going to find that they're going to be utilities may not be connected. Sewer sellers unwilling to make repairs are going to be selling it as is. Those are the kind of frustrations that you're going to experience, and it's not going to be an easy negotiation process in most cases. Your expectations, in this case, it just goes to show you really want to have that buyer brokerage agreement set out, because all of those things could potentially get involved. And the other thing that you're going to find in a lot of these homes, you know what? Let's go back up. I want to show you something. I didn't include the commissions on these. What you will also see in most cases on the MLS descriptions is they will put some information in there on what the commission is likely to be. So in most cases on short sales or foreclosures, the commission, you're not likely to get the full 3% commission on the buy side for a short sale or a foreclosure home. It's likely to be much less than that, and it's almost always going to be split 50% between the listing agent and the selling agent. So just be aware of that. You're not likely to make a whole, you're going to be doing more work for your client that's interested in a foreclosure or a short sale home, and you're probably going to be making less money in the process. So that might be a decision process of, do I really want to go there? Okay. All right, folks, we got 3 minutes left. I'm ready for any questions that you have about either foreclosures, short sales, or anything else.
I have a question. Since I'm new to the area, have the other agents, do you see a big need or quite a few clients asking about foreclosures and short sales in this current market?
I've had a couple.
Go ahead, everybody.
I've had a couple.
Okay. Because like I've been an agent 8 years in up north, and I've done one foreclosure. Well, it was actually a short sale that I did last October, and it did take a long time to close. It took 3 months actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey Tracy, this is Jake. And I've had a couple people ask about foreclosures, but I was always told that it's not even really worth your time as an agent because of how, you just don't get any commissions out of it really. So it's kind of, I personally just don't even deal with foreclosures, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, so
Thank you.
let me give you my 2 cents. It's not that I don't deal with foreclosures. I steer them from foreclosures to maybe what you're not looking for is a foreclosure. Maybe what you're looking for is an REO home. And here's how I can help you with REO. And with REO, you've got a buyer's brokerage agreement. You've got the contract. You've got the instructions to the closing attorney, and it's on the MLS. So the commission structure is already predetermined and published in the MLS.
Right,
So,
I badly worded that, Jay. Sorry. I do
okay.
that
Yeah,
too. I do that too, but
absolutely.
as far as just foreclosures, I don't touch them. So, like just
Yeah.
foreclosures.
So it's all in that first question that you end up asking them is, so tell me why it is. What are you looking for in a foreclosure? And where at some point in real estate world, maybe when you graduate from high school, everybody's like, if you ever buy a house, ask about foreclosures. Because everybody always asks about foreclosures, and what they really are asking is, can I get a deal? Well, you could potentially get a deal, but there's also a lot of risk of that. And my job as your real estate agent is to help you to manage that risk. So let me show you how I can help you with getting a good deal on a home through the processes that already exist with less risk than going down to the courthouse steps. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Last minute. All right, everybody. Have a great day.